From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Anxiety Project podcast. I am your host with the most on anxiety recovery, Brad Robinson, here with you today on episode number 27. And this episode is on the 3 reasons why you remain in constant misery. And I'm going to dive right in with number 1, and that is you constantly point out what you don't want in life. Now, your subconscious does not understand nots and don'ts. And I'm going to elaborate on this just a little bit here. So your brain is separated into 2 hemispheres. You got the left hemisphere and you got the right hemisphere. Now, the left hemisphere processes language, processes words, and then the right hemisphere processes imagery, like your imagination, like you're imagining yourself doing something. So, when you say, I am not going to smoke today, you process that in your left hemisphere, but then that triggers your right hemisphere, and then you picture yourself smoking. And this is very important to understand here, because when you say, I don't want to have a panic attack at my job today, what happens? That triggers the right hemisphere image of you having a panic attack at your job. So you're more likely to have a panic attack at your job today, right? When you say that, because your subconscious does not understand nots and don'ts. So you unintentionally imagine yourself doing the action you don't want, and then you unconsciously act on that image. And that's really important to understand. So to change your self-talk, it's important to change it to I want. I want. By doing this, you imagine yourself achieving your goals. I want to feel powerful at my job today. I want to walk around confident today and speaking clearly. And when you imagine yourself doing that, you manifest that. You manifest that. So it's all about self-talk. It's all about changing your self-talk. And that's very crucial to understand. And another great way to manifest what you want is to disassociate yourself with that image of you. So when I say disassociate, you're either associated or disassociated. So it's either you in the picture, in that image, you're either in that moment eating that particular food or in that moment of anxiety, or disassociated is you looking at you. Like you're looking at you from a different perspective. Like you're watching you walk around the office. You're picturing you sitting on the bus. You're picturing you driving the car, and you're not in the car, but you're picturing you driving it. And that's really important to understand. Being disassociated and using that technique to achieve a goal is very important. And it's important because you're picturing what you want, right? If you're already in that event, if you're associated, your body thinks you've already obtained that goal. Your body thinks you've already achieved it. But if you're disassociated, your body thinks that you haven't achieved it, but you want to achieve it. You want it. And that's really crucial, okay? So it's all about self-talk, and it's all about what you imagine, okay? So instead of using I don't and I'm not going to do that, your right hemisphere doesn't understand those 2 words. And when you start changing your dialogue to, I want to be more confident in this scenario, I want to create a more powerful me, or whatever it may be, it's important that you use these words to manifest these desires, these goals, these long-term goals, and this new identity you so desperately need, right? And you will obtain. Number 2 is you magnify the bad and not the good. So you're constantly blaming yourself for things even though it wasn't your fault. Now, this is important and this is crucial because when I used to suffer from anxiety, I was very sensitive towards other people's feelings. I was very agreeable. And when I was at multiple jobs in the film industry and things were going wrong and people were getting upset, I would feel very sensitive to their emotions. And I would feel like I'm not doing enough to make them happy. And then you start blaming yourself. I started to blame myself for things, right? Things weren't going right for other people, or accidents would happen, and I would just beat myself up over it, even though some scenarios, man, it wasn't my fault, and I would still beat myself up. I would still ruminate over the event. And this comes from the fear of not being accepted. And then when you are not accepted by others, what happens? So say like thousands of years ago, when you're not accepted by the people in your tribe, you become an outcast. And when you're an outcast, that leads to death because you can't survive on your own. So this stems back to thousands and thousands of years ago. And it equals death. You might not think that because, it's just, I just wanted to, make someone else happy, but it also stems back to, not being accepted, to, if I'm not accepted, then I'll be alone. And when I'm alone, I can't defend for myself, and I can't survive in this society by myself. And then that will equal death. Make it a challenge to magnify the good instead. I really like the color of her shoes. And this is the internal dialogue I want you to develop. I really like the color of his shirt. I like the blue. It's a really nice color. Or, I really love the way she colored her hair. It looks really nice. And when you start magnifying the good, you'll start focusing in on the good things throughout the day. My anxiety was the best and worst thing that has ever happened to me. I took so much good out of my anxiety. I became a tougher person. I became more knowledgeable about the anatomy of my brain and why I experience anxiety. I became a better speaker when I started the podcast. I became a strong individual when I'm out in public, a strong, confident, humble person who takes other people's feelings into consideration and loves to help other people. So there's so many areas of my anxiety that has helped me grow and strengthen every aspect of me. I became a healthier eater. I became more healthier because I work out at the gym more. I became more of a good person towards my family and towards my relationships. And I became more aware of the things in my life because of the anxiety disorder. And there's a whole list of things that are good about the anxiety disorder. But my point is that it's about noticing the good and not the bad. I could list off so many different things about my anxiety disorder, the bad things, but I don't. I magnified the good. What have I achieved when going through anxiety? The new relationships that I've developed, the old relationships that I threw away that make me more powerful today. And that's really important. So magnify the good. Notice the good things. Comment people on their wardrobe. Comment people on their smile and the way they look, and start noticing the good things throughout the day. It's rainy out today, but I get to sit inside and read a book and stay warm. There's many things. I'm waiting for the bus in the pouring rain after a long day of work, but I'm so happy to have this podcast to listen to because it's keeping me knowledgeable. It's keeping me informed. It's keeping me growing as a person, and that's the positive. Number 3 is you are not updating your checklist. So the checklist is, everyone has a checklist. So, and I'll give you an example. So like say when you arrive at a hotel, you have a checklist within you of how you want things to go, right? How you want things to go. So, you expect the TV to be over there in that corner. You expect to have soap, lots of soap and hand towels there. You expect to have a view of the lake or wherever it is. You expect to have certain things in place. You expect to have the bed organized a certain way. You expect the fridge to be there with a microwave. You expect all these things. Or another example would be if you go to a band, you see your favorite band play, you expect them to play certain songs that you love. You expect the show to go a certain way, right? You expect the front man to act a certain way. You expect your favorite songs to play throughout that concert. And when that does not get met, what happens? You start criticizing the concert. Oh, the concert wasn't that good. They didn't even play my favorite songs. Or, the front man, he didn't even really do much. He just stood there and sung, and he didn't have any mannerisms or anything interesting about him. Or, the hotel, they didn't even have any hand towels. They only had like one hand towel there, and I was very disappointed. Or there was a tree blocking my view from the hotel window. And this is the checklist. So a health anxiety sufferer's checklist goes something like this. People must understand what I'm going through, or things must run smoothly at my job. If not, I will be angry and upset. I must not feel sensations of anxiety throughout the day, or I must always go into a deep meditation when I meditate, or customers must not give me a bad time at work. So when something does not get checked off, which, usually happens because that's how life is. Life doesn't go the way you want it to. So when something doesn't get checked off, you will experience unpleasant feelings. And sometimes these feelings lead to a generalization. You'll say to yourself, everything bad happens to me. I'm worthless. The world is out to get me. Everyone is against me. So you start to generalize things. And it's important to update your checklist. Updating your checklist is absolutely crucial. So how can we? What feelings show up when your checklist is not met, when things don't go the way you want them to. So recognize these feelings. By recognizing the feelings that show up when someone disagrees with you or when you enter an unfamiliar environment, you are able to counter these feelings. Learning to accept the situation and surrender to the feelings, you prepare yourself for the feelings and imagine how you want to feel instead. So acceptance takes the place of expectations. It's very important, right? Very important. So, what are the reasons for changing? Why do you want to overcome anxiety? Why do you want to recover and become this new person, this new empowered person that can take on anything in this life? Is it for family? And I want you to write this down and really consider it. Really write this down and figure out why you want to change. Is it for family? Is it for friends? Is it to not live with regret? To feel healthy and strong? To feel more confident? Changing is really all about self-reflection and setting goals and obtainable goals. I don't want you to set the bar really high because that's just too high, way too high. Set the bar low, set the bar weekly. Set the bar weekly. Write down your goal for the week. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to learn? Are you going to practice meditation exercises by imagining yourself being confident at work? Are you going to change your self-dialogue? Are you going to change your self-dialogue to, I can't wait to have another panic attack so I can prove to myself I can overcome it? That's amazing. That's empowering. That is very empowering. It's all about the internal dialogue. And I really want you guys to review my podcasts over again and write down notes because these notes are important. Take them with you throughout the day. And it's all about challenging yourself. It's all about challenging yourself. And that's today's podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. Remember, I'm on iTunes. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. Come join the tribe. Leave comments and let me know what you want me to talk about next. I want to hear you guys' stories and I want to hear everything about you. I want to hear everything, what you're going through. I want to hear the breakthroughs as well. What are your breakthroughs? Leave comments and make sure to review this podcast on iTunes. Review it. Do not let anxiety define who you are. Have a great day. Bye-bye. For more podcast episodes, for more video content, and one-on-one coaching with me via Skype, visit www.unpluganxiety.com for everything you need to know about ending anxiety naturally. I love you all. Have a great day. Bye-bye.